In the Round is all about highlighting musicians on their music journey. Whether they're local, regional, or touring coast to coast, they all have great stories to tell. We're looking for the stories that allow us to get to know them in a different light. The funny, the heartwarming, all the lows and highs, and of course the music that was born from that journey. Hey, I'm Dee, I'm a musician, I'm a music lover, and I'm your host. Let's jump right in.
I think it was like, you know, putting shots up in the gym, just to like prove to myself that I could do this. And now it's like, okay, I'm just waiting to not even feel inspired, but there's always just like a when I know type of thing. And I think I had to go through the process of just rapping over everything or listening to everything and thinking that everything could be a song for me to like get to that point.
Yeah,
so.
Right. Got to walk before you can run,
Correct.
Before you can rap.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's the exact step
Process. Yeah.
And that, I think, again, that ties back to what I love about your records is like the people that you've chosen to work with to shine a light on. Your vocals are so unique. So the music that you put underneath that. So if anyone hasn't heard B.Well, he has this beautiful, sexy, low voice. I'm just going to say it. We're all thinking it. No, it's gorgeous. And so I think that's why I love the musicality of what you put underneath it. Because it also allows what you're saying, I think, to stand out. You're not even, I don't want to say you're not relying on the music, but it's like your vocals layer into it so well, but it's like because the tones are varied enough and things like that, it like shines a light on it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And I think the things that you are singing about too, sometimes they're really heavy things, you know, like oftentimes they are. And again, you have this cool, calm demeanor, but that's, I think, what allows that listener to like catch up on that. Cause you know, they can get kind of distracted into the music side, but then when you start listening to what you're saying, you're like, oh, damn. All right.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you.
Yeah. A lot of your subject matter seems to stem from or be fueled by what you do in the community. And I absolutely want to talk about this because, one, I'm a big fan of what you do in the community, and I just think it's important across any community. Listeners, we are in the round with B.Well, Billy Weathers from Des Moines. Yes. Amazing human, amazing artist, amazing activist, community member, teacher, entrepreneur.
Yes.
All those things.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing some stuff, but I also want to hear kind of about the genesis of how some of these things came to be.
For sure.
Because you started a nonprofit, B.Well Foundation. Yeah. Great name. So good. Just that works so well. Do you want to tell us kind of about, I know there's so many facets to the project, but.
Yeah, I guess to kind of draw back to where that motivation like even stemmed from or started. My mother worked for the American Red Cross for 35 years. And I didn't really understand, I guess, like the scope of her work and even just like the nonprofit. I know she worked her ass off and she was always, she was traveling and working and scaling, like just like through that organization. And I knew that she was making an impact, and everybody that I talked to that either worked with her or for her had admirable work to say. And I knew that she would always just speak on the fact that like she was doing something bigger than herself or like serving something larger than that. And so mixing that, or I guess fast forwarding to how integral hip hop was into my upbringing, it served. I was growing up, I split time here and in Las Vegas. And so hip hop just served as like these like books or these like videos or worlds that got created by different artists that could take you to like their perspective of where they were growing up and how they were, viewing the world. And I don't want to say all, but a lot of the artists that I enjoyed and still to this day were like saying something and using their platform to the best of their ability.
Right.
Not that everybody has to be an activist, or not even that everybody has to be like a role model. I don't think that that's a responsibility of an artist.
You don't want everybody to be a role model.
Yeah. First and foremost, yeah.
Right. And there's a place for booty pop and, whatever.
Of course. Yeah, for sure. This club music.
But also,
absolutely.
like time and a place for everything.
Yeah. And it's just a powerful vessel. I mean, it's the most streamed music in the world. And it has been for like a very long time now, or at least like almost a decade. And so there's no debating how influential it is. And so I always just wanted to make sure that if I had a platform, if I earned one, if we got granted one, if we were blessed with one, that we were using it in the right capacity, and giving back where we had the ability to do so. Started recording in my dorm room as Simpson, and that was always just kind of like motivation. That was like,
Mm.
man, if I just had a platform or somebody to like hear it or talk to it, like we can make some change. We can make, I don't know, some kind of positivity happen. And usually that's like extremely contagious, and it works like wildfire, and just motivate somebody that didn't even know that they had the capacity to do it or the capabilities, or, they just figure out that, oh, you can do something grassroots. You can do something that
Mm.
started, as something small, and then watch it blossom and grow. And so I think that's probably the most motivating thing off of the nonprofit, is knowing that we have no idea who we're, I guess, directly impacting or indirectly.
Yeah.
But we know that it's making a difference, or hopefully is. So
Yeah, we talk about community a lot actually in the previous episodes that we've done, because we've had some incredible folks who are teachers, and Jim Swim and Andrew
mhm.
Hoyt and other folks like
Yeah,
you
for
that
sure.
are engaged in that uh, youth, especially in the youth. But something you just said made me think, like, that's what community is, right? Is it just finding out that someone else thinks or feels the way that
Correct.
you do? And
Yep.
then you go, oh, at least you get it or
Yep.
kind of get it. So yeah, I that's incredible. And I love that you had your own role models in your life to
So
kind of guide you into that and help form you. You mentioned in an article that your dad doesn't leave the house without looking dapper, I
yeah,
believe
of
was the
course.
word, like
Yeah,
top
for
to
sure.
bottom. And I was gonna say
Yeah.
visually, like when
Yeah.
I think about you, Billy, that's why I think about purpose, like not only in your drive and like the good that you do in the community, but also like you're very purposeful about your aesthetics, the show, like how
For
you
sure.
look, the experience that you put on for people. And I want to talk more about that later. But going back
Yeah,
to
yeah,
B.Well
yeah.
Foundation, there's
Yeah.
so much more that we can touch on
Mhm.
there. Are there things? So fast forward to you've been getting grants, like
Yep.
you've started this. Or what was the transition in there? I guess so. You were in Simpson, writing
Yeah.
songs, recording, and then how did that lead to B.Well Foundation?
Uh,
Oh, I'm putting you on the spot. You can think of it.
no,
Phone a
no,
friend if you need.
that's a good question. It started. I started recording here in Des Moines with Andrew Farron, and his roommate was Burke Van Rattle, who
Mm.
works at First Fleet, and they
Ah,
needed an
okay.
opener for the Riff Raff like show that was at Woolies, and I didn't know shit about Riff Raff outside of the fact that he was like on G's to Gents back on like I think it was like VH1 or
Oh
like
man.
one of
Woo.
MTV.
Throwback.
And I was like, yeah, and he asked me if I could sell 30 tickets. And I was like, I was like, I don't know. I'm
You're like
pretty sure I
mom,
know. Yeah,
dad,
yeah,
cousins.
yeah. Come on. Like I can at
Yeah,
least
yeah,
move five,
yeah.
uh, and it, it worked, and
Mm,
I think I had like a 20-minute set, and that was my first time performing at Woolies, and it was extremely eye-opening and
mm.
very cool actually. But even to go back further than that, the irony of even how like the name came about, or our presence in Des Moines. When I was at Simpson, we were hosting events, and I don't know, events is a strong word. We were hosting parties,
Yeah.
and we were in charge of the music, right, or like
Yeah.
the entertainment, and making sure that like the energy in the space
Mm.
was cool.
Yeah.
And kind of just we would just send out a text of like where it was going to be, what time, and X, Y, and Z. And so,
So you
you
were
know,
event planning. Yeah,
yeah,
while going to school.
well before I knew I was. Yeah, double majored.
Yeah.
And but so I was in, and we had started, I'd like recorded, I'd put out projects on Hot New Hip Hop and Dat Piff, like downloadable stuff
Mm.
where it was just like no knowledge. I didn't know what I was doing.
Can we
Still.
cut to clips of that if we can dig
Yeah,
that
if you
up,
can
please?
find them,
That'd be great.
that would be extremely impressive. I'm sure there's somewhere, I know you can get on them on Dat Piff. I
Yeah.
don't think they're on Hot New Hip
Is your
Hop anymore.
MySpace still active? Can
Yeah,
we
it's
get
gotta be. um, but I was in Brian Steffen's communications course. It was like one of the levels of like just I think it was like one of our journalism courses, and a guy named I can't remember his name, Brett maybe, came up and he was like, "Congratulations on your show in Des Moines," and I was like, "I don't know what he's talking about," and I was like, "Thanks, man." Trying to play it off
Yeah,
like I'm
yeah.
cool,
You're
like,
like,
"Oh yeah,
of
yeah, no
course.
doubt," and I'm like, and so afterwards, I asked him, I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, and he pulled up this event, and it was at Vaudeville Muse, RIP, and it was
Oh,
and it said B.Well, but it wasn't me. And I was like, so I messaged the person that was like hosting the event, and I was like, hey, like, what is this show? Like, just kind of
yeah.
inquiring and seeing if it could like be something that I just at least went to. And I'm like, hey, I go by this name too. And Ironically enough, the lady messaged me back and she was like, "Hey, the B.Well that was doing this dropped out. Would you be interested in filling in?" And I
Whoa.
was like,
Wha-
"Sure." So we packed up a bunch of cars and drove down here for that show. And
I love that they were congratulating you on, I mean, let me be clear. I love the Muse, but I love how he's like, way to go on your show. And
yeah,
you're like,
yeah, it
have
was
you
like
been to the Muse?
yeah, because it was like the first headline. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
it
yeah.
was
No,
like
for
B.Well
real.
curated this.
Yeah. Damn. Okay.
And so we pull up, we perform, and I remember, I don't know if it was, I don't think it was Lad. I'm trying to remember what the bartender's name was.
Mm,
But
probably lad.
he paid me. And I was like, because he thought that I was the one that like started, or he thought that I was B.Well. And so I got this like stack of, it was not a stack. It was like $250.
Yeah.
But it was the first time that I got paid for an event. And I was like, this is cool. And so we,
Yeah.
divvied out. I look at my friends. I'm like, hey, I don't think we were supposed to get this. And they're like, make sure you're like, let's go pay the other artists. So we're like, divvying it out. And we probably left with like $100. And we
Yeah,
just went,
right.
we went to Fong's and we were like, but I felt like I was balling. I was like, I just want a Grammy. Like, I was like,
Yeah,
paying tab, like tipping well. I was like, this is the hardest shit I've ever done.
The amount of money that went straight from the Muse to Fong's Pizza
It's
across
crazy.
the
It should be
street.
studied.
Yeah.
It should be a case study.
Absolutely. The amount of wonton pizza wow. Okay.
Yeah. But that was kind of the battery in the back because it was like, oh, it was a high. And not that I chase highs in a bad way, but just performance in general and just being an artist is kind of these fleeting highs that you're always going after. You're always able to kind of capture momentarily. And so that was one of those. And it just led to, the Riff Raff show. And then that led to me getting a chance to meet Isaac Joseph, who's like, a brother of mine. And I got to open up for Kid Ink and then like numerous other artists that were coming to town, and they would just take a risk, or they took a risk on me and bet on me, and I bet on myself and my team. And we would just keep making a name for ourselves by selling tickets and hustling these off. And ironically enough, Isaac, Andrew, and Burke all opened 85 Bar, where I currently bartend.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, it's just wild. I mean, Des Moines is small in
Yeah.
general, but just like for that to all kind of just coexist and then to still be transpiring into like
Yeah.
not only success, but, just, I don't know, it's wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that all I guess to kind of say that it started organically and still remains that way of just trying to serve the scene here, create it, uplift it in any way that we can, whether that's working within the DMPS through the foundation or helping to complement art shows or curate those or be intentional. But yeah, try to be extremely intentional with every movement that we have.
Yeah, it's
So,
like injecting culture into
correct.
even existing events, but also curating your own,
Hmm.
working with students in schools, like showing them that
Yeah, it's a
culture is
possibility.
okay and that's out
Hmm.
there. I love that. And actually I love your story about because some folks are they're like, I was on stage at age 3 and I was,
Yeah,
and like other people have a different, journey and trajectory. And what I love hearing about your story is it's like you were building a bicycle, but then you finally got to ride it. You're
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
okay, I know I can build this bike.
Yeah.
Like,
And I'm not falling over.
I'm not,
Like,
but
for sure.
like,
Like,
oh, and I went really far with it.
Start
And
building
then
some
you're
confidence.
like reflecting that around, to the people around you and uplifting kids to do the same. And I'm just so here for it.
Thanks.
Like, I think I love, there was this quote I read that you said something to the effect of like, talking about what makes a city cool, and you're like, you also have to make it cool. Like you
Correct.
have to do
You have to
cool
put in work.
things to make.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Correct.
it seems like a really simplistic view, but it's accurate, And then it's audience cultivation. And do you want to talk about that actually? I think that's something that especially as we talk to like more local regional artists, how do you cultivate your audience? I mean, again, I touched on you put on a really dynamic like in integrated performance. You have always a lot of florals, which I love,
Yes,
like
shout out
stuff going
Wildflower.
on. Yeah, Wildflower.
Good job, Maya.
Wildflower is there to create the extraordinary for the colorful arrangement of life's experiences, moments of celebration, remembrance, and especially joy. As an innovative floral and event styling studio in the heart of Des Moines, Iowa, Wildflower caters to those who crave custom, thoughtful, and beautiful design. See the Wildflower style and find out more about the shop, owned and operated by Maya Betcher and her expert staff at wildflowerdsm.com.
Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah.
And like, was there something that you've done too that's like just seen a lot of audience engagement that you didn't expect, or I don't know.
I just try to be as vulnerable, I think, as possible on stage, and whether that's just me like joking around or expressing how I feel in the current moment or the current state of the world is just opening that up. I think that's what artists can offer at shows. It's just this big energy transfer, right? When you're on stage, you're just kind of taking everything that they're giving you and they're accepting
Yeah.
everything back. So
Right.
it's I I didn't learn that at first. I would used to go into shows and be like, I'm just coming with all this energy, and it was like,
Mm.
relax, dude, it's not that serious. So it's just like, it's kind of you learn as you go, and so
Mhm.
luckily, I've had a lot of experience on stage to be able to figure out how to curate a show or even how to curate a set list and then
Mm.
how to bring other performers and instrumentation on stage with you to add another dynamic or layer to the show. And so I think it's just like anything else or any other profession. You kind of just chip away and you're like, you
Mhm.
reflect and you're like, that was terrible. And you go back to the board and you're like, okay, this is how we improve for next time. And yeah, meeting Maya and just the implementation of just like floral in general
Yeah.
has been like wild for like, no pun intended.
Pun intended. Yeah.
Yeah, just in regards to I and not in a misogynistic way at all, but like I don't really do like events or like try to curate to guys at all. I'm
Mhm.
trying, so like, and again, that's not to sound like arrogant or misogynistic at all, but it's like women control the world, right? And they
Oh,
control,
snaps. Can I get snaps quick? All
yeah,
right.
and they control, not only that, but like economics. Like they spend the most money. They also, they go and support. They actually uplift and do these things. Guys,
Mm.
like you have to convince to be cool, and I'm like, I could care less,
Yeah.
dude, because if your mom, aunt, sister, and girlfriend are at the show, then you'll end up being there or hearing about it in some
Yeah.
capacity. So,
Oh, I
again,
love you just like owning that and saying that right now
yeah,
because you're so right. And
yeah, for
like who
sure.
buys the merch? Who
Who buys
organizes
everything?
going to the show?
Correct.
Probably the
And they come in, you
yeah.
come in groups. Like
Yeah,
a guy,
yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted the shows by myself. Women are not doing that. They're like, I need six
Flocks.
friends. Yeah, I
Yeah,
need at
we
least six
come
friends
flocks.
coming with me.
Yeah.
And so it's always, I shouldn't say always, but it has been like, not even that, like, that's my market. That's not what I'm like just trying to like target by any means. I'm just trying to target Des Moines, I guess.
Right,
But
right.
that's
Yeah.
always like, I want it to smell good. I want it to look good. I want it to be comfortable. I
Yeah.
want it to be a place where people can just be themselves, and not that you don't get that with like rap shows. You don't get that with a lot of shows.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
again, I'll try to just be extremely intentional with that. Floral helps,
Floral.
Yeah, floral helps, low light helps, all these things of just
Yeah.
like comfortability.
Hmm.
So,
Well, and it reflects like sonically what you do to
mhm.
me, and that's actually why I love your album covers too, which I hope everyone go and checks out.
Thanks.
You just put out an
Yes.
album in 2024,
Yes.
2022,
Yeah.
2021, maybe before that, but
Hmm.
they're all like this. Just again, the aesthetic, the cover art is just fantastic. It's
Thank you.
featuring florals.
Yeah.
It's
Shout out to
it's
Bias,
yeah.
my buddy Borg. Yeah, videographer. He's just like my right hand, but just always like, I'll just get like an idea, and he's always the one that like helps to like execute it and bring it to life. So,
Yeah, I do. I love how you collaborate with other artists. Again, we talked about Annie Kimball. But I wondered kind of how you found these people that you collaborate with. You
yeah.
mentioned it's kind of all over the world through SoundCloud, through YouTube,
Hmm.
other places. But is Annie the only local? Like, there's some other local folks
Yeah,
too
there are.
that you have a quote somewhere where you said like Des Moines is such a wealth of talent that can be
Correct.
tapped,
Hmm.
and it seems like you're doing that with Annie and other folks.
Yeah, I try to work with as many artists that I can, or that are down to work with me, I guess too.
You're like,
But
are you into florals or not? Quick
yeah,
question.
yeah.
Next.
How's this candle smell? And
Yeah.
then like but yeah, even I guess drawing it back to like the immediacy of like my team.
Mm.
My sound engineer Anthony and I met through a videographer that I was working with by the name of Danny Garcia back in 2014.
Your
And
memory is astounding,
no,
by
it's
the way.
not.
No,
No.
did you
For
look all
lyrics,
this?
for lyrics, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you're naming names like it was yesterday. I'm
Yeah.
just impressed.
Thanks. There's definitely some people in my life that would beg to differ. They'd be like, all right. But
We don't remember their names, of course, but yeah, I gotcha.
but he introduced us, and he was like, hey, I've got a buddy. Ironically enough, I met a lot of like my friends in Sioux City. like, which is just
What?
random. Yeah, random, very random. My sound engineer, videographers, photographers, just, yeah, it's very random.
So that's another untapped creative pool, apparently.
Well, I think
Or you already got them all.
Yeah, we might have we got them all and get brought them to Des Moines.
Okay.
We were like, get out of there. Save yourself.
Shout out to Sioux City. Do you want to sponsor this episode?
Sure.
Okay, good.
But so I'm just big on like energy. We had two homies that were living, that I played college football with, that were living in Sioux City, and they were going to like Morningside. One of them was going to Morningside for his graduate degree. And so it would allow me to go down there. The first time that I met Anthony, you know, we were staying at his house. And so I went over to Anthony's crib, and he was living in his brother's basement at the time. And we just chopped it up for music for like 15 hours and didn't even realize that like it had been that long. But we just had like, there was just a connection off top that we both, you know, realized and understood, and we didn't even really work on music that entire weekend. We was just chopping it up about ideas or visions, and, you know, he eventually moved to town, and then that, you know, whether that's like Tobias Borg, I got introduced to him through Space, you know, who's another hip-hop artist here in town, and Teller, Teller Banks, Johnny Mars, just people that I genuinely, like, are my, I don't know, I think they'll be my pallbearers someday, like way beyond just kind of collaborators or just like even friends. I try to be very keen on like the energy, you know, that you put out, but also receive back. Is I don't work with people just because they're talented. I don't really care to.
Right.
I think there's a lot of talented individuals that kind of suck, and there's a lot of people that are like cool that could, you know, you just use a platform or use a push, and so I try to recognize that as well. That if, you know, you're a good person, you know, good idea. You know, everybody's a work in progress. But if you have like good intent and you're trying, you know, to do something, then I'm more keen to work with you than just working with somebody because they have a budget or because they have some kind of access that I'm trying to also have access to. Or, you know, I've just always tried to be very strategic and intentional with that as well.
I think that speaks to you as a true artist. Like, that's why I was trying to write down everything you do today, and I'm like, I gotta lead with artist, because I think you're even artistic about your more business-y ventures, you know, that you do, and even talking about your team, like that's family level, you know, that's you guys are in a relationship.
Yeah,
like that's
very much.
Probably closer than any other.
But
but that, what I've found as an artist is when you can get in a room with that type of people, then your own creativity, I feel like, spikes.
Skyrockets.
Like it's just like fuel to your fire. Like you already have it because you need to bring it, but I feel like being around that kind of like support or just like down for anything, you know, the ride or die element.
It was like playing sports too. It was like, you know, everybody has a position, but we're all aiming towards the same goal. We all want to win the game. So it's the same kind of mentality that I've taken into not even forming the team, because I haven't been the only piece that's, you know, contributed to that. But if I'm playing quarterback, then I still need my offensive line to block. I still need wide receivers. I still need a running back. Still need all these pieces. You know, we need a strong defense. We need all these things that all contribute to us being successful. So I think a good leader and I think a good creative recognizes what he's really good at and then goes finds friends or allies that are really good at the shit that he sucks at.
Yeah,
so
right. Yeah.
I think that's also, you know, what I've spent a lot of time doing as well is, you know, I sharpen what I know that I can provide to the team. And my sound engineer, graphic designer, videographer, stylist, producers, they all then, we all kind of help each other. So then if they have a show or there's something that they can lean on me for, you know, it's reciprocated or vice versa.
Yeah.
So
a community within a community even. Yeah. That's
serving and
amazing.
helping one another.
Yeah.
It's just, I think that's how you combat, not even that we're trying to combat like capitalism or just.
Well, a little bit.
Tear it down. Tear it down.
Tear it down.
But just, you have something to offer and somebody has something to offer you. And so I always tell my friends to like use me, not in like a negative way.
Bartering,
Yeah,
right?
for
Like
sure.
the idea is skill for skill.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can provide something and so can you. So
Right. No, that totally makes sense. Okay, wait, you reminded me. So you played football. What position?
Wide receiver.
Wide receiver.
Okay. I was okay. I wasn't very good.
Come
on.
on.
I mean, I played some games, started, but like, nah, like my brother T. Raj was way better than I was.
Oh, dang.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think being involved with like sports or any sort of like group activity, for lack of a better term, like that.
It teaches you.
Yeah,
It teaches you a lot.
Yeah.
And I would be remiss to act like it didn't teach me all of the elements that I now attribute or
Yeah.
contribute to the team aspect that we have and the camaraderie, or just the importance of not only like checking in on one another, but making sure we're all on the same page and that
Yeah,
we're
right.
aiming towards the same thing. So
Because if they, if someone doesn't do their job, then you don't get the ball, and then
correct.
you can't run it down, right?
Yep.
Is
Yeah,
the
people talk
idea.
love languages all the time, and I'm like, mine's acts of service. It has to be, and I think that's all of them are important. But words of affirmation don't mean much if your words are shallow or hollow, I guess.
That's true.
So it's
Yeah.
like, on show day, I need people to do exactly what they said they were going to do.
Yeah, got
the show is
action.
dependent on it. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Right. No, that's amazing. And this community within a community, I'm also like hearing job creation, or, that's a
Correct.
really, again,
Yeah, no,
corporate
yeah,
way
for
to
sure.
say it. But, like creating a strong team, then their skills get enhanced, your skills get enhanced. And then other shows or
Correct.
collaborations that you do are just going to benefit from that. It's using the muscle that you've built. Like, I think you were talking about, like just rapping over everything initially.
Yeah.
You just got to build up the muscle first, and then you can
Fine tune.
fine tune that into like what makes you unique. And I think you are a really unique performer.
Thanks.
And like perfect for Des Moines in my mind. Like it kind of kills me of like the people who don't know should absolutely know and should experience a show that you put on, because it's emotional and, like you said, vulnerable, and like laying it all out there. And that's how I feel as an artist too. Even if I'm singing about something that's like slightly fictionalized, it's usually all still really
Stems from
true.
something.
Yeah, like
for
rooted
sure.
in something.
Yeah.
Something that I should probably get a therapist for, but
Yeah.
who has time for that?
Yeah, when you can sing. Yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
When you can sing and
Yeah, that's
perform.
good. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The stage is our therapy.
Very much.
So along those lines, actually, I wanted to ask you about, you had this other great quote about, like growing up where everything's sort of microwavable, or like a lot of music production right now is microwavable.
Yep.
And it really made me laugh, because I'm like, we do live in the microwave generation. Like we want everything instantly. And a huge theme for you, aside from purpose in my mind, is patience. And you talk about that a lot, of like kind of choosing the right moments and choosing to take the time to even be able to identify the right moments of creation, and allowing that to come to you very naturally. So you have a tattoo that says patience, right? Yeah,
I love
look at
it.
you. So that's really important to you. And I lack all of that. So I'd love to hear more about it.
I think I also lacked, probably still do lack.
That's why it's on your hand. You're like,
I'm
oh
done.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Got it
Okay.
tatted as a reminder. Yeah, for sure. That's and it's like the first line on the Elegant song is, I got it tatted as a reminder to practice it even more when the stakes get higher. Of just understanding that like not everything that you want, you need. I read a quote recently that was like, Lord, protect me from the things that I want. Which I resonated with heavy. I was like, oh, yeah, yes.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of the time you think you want something in momentarily, and then a couple day passes, and you're like, well, I'm thankful that I didn't actually use time or resources to pursue that, because it wouldn't have served me really. So I think the only way that I got to that frame of mind was through trial and error, and going after things that I didn't need, or and not regulating my wants. So I think understanding that good things take time, whether it's relationships or whether it's a show or an album, there's no reason to rush it. A lot of the time you're just rushing it for yourself or your own validation of being like, oh, I just needed to get a thing done. So kind of going back to why I was rapping over everything was just to prove to myself that I could rap, so everybody else knew that I could too.
Yeah,
and now it's not, I don't need to do that anymore. Now I don't release an album until I love it, or not until like I listen to it with the windows down and I'm riding around and I'm like, this is great.
Or like
I don't
I've
care.
said what I wanted to say here.
Correct.
Like,
and if no one else ever listens to it, then it's cool. I can go back and enjoy it still.
Yeah.
I used to just do it just to prove, like, so remember I rap. It's like, no one cares,
Right.
dude. So the more intentional you are, I think just the more patience has to come with that, and vice versa. I try to do that, and I think people have been patient with me also, whether it's through like relationships or friendships or, even business partnerships, of just be like allowing me to grow as an individual and allowing me to make mistakes, but always know that like my heart was pure. So I don't ever think that I move maliciously. I think that I make mistakes and screw things up just like everybody else.
Yeah.
But so yeah, this all just kind of allowed to be like, you know, practicing that and also honing in on that skill of being able to practice that. It's like, and I go to yoga very religiously and consistently to be able to like calm my mind down and also not make emotional decisions. I think I spent a lot of
Mm.
my youth doing that
Yeah.
and making poor decisions based on that. So now
Because it comes out as passion, or like
it can.
it can,
Yeah.
but then it's like, where are you putting that passion,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. Be
it's
strategic or
one thing
be
to have it, and then it's another thing to kind of
use it.
harness it. Yeah.
Yeah. And use it in the right ways. I think that I had pent up energy and aggression all the time, but I didn't know where to put it. And now it's like I know exactly where this goes. Or, when I feel
Yeah.
this way, I know how to release it, or at least not even compartmentalize it, but I know how to like where to put it away to, revisit at a different time. So,
God, I love that. You're reminding me of something I want to ask you about in terms of giving advice in a way to, people through the lens of music, through the
okay.
lens of everything you're talking about, actually, just like your way of life.
Hmm.
If there was something that you had to say about like living in this sort of like immediate gratification, I mean, a lot of it you just said, but um, I guess I was curious if there was like one piece of advice, just having been on this journey that you've been on, like, is there something that either for other artists or,
Hmm.
youth that you work with, like when you're
That's a
doing
heavy
B.Well
question.
Foundation stuff, like, is there a through line theme that tends to come out when you're working with these younger folks?
Yeah, it might be multi-layered. I think
See how I didn't even have the patience to think through that question? I just asked it until it got asked. But yeah, this is why.
be very, be very intentional. Know why you're doing it. Ask yourself why you're doing it, as opposed to just going for the sake of going. Um, I think you have to love what you're doing, and I think that gets like overused. Like if you love what you do, you never work a day, and it's like, no, it's not really true. You
You should
just
work every day.
yeah,
Every day. Yeah.
and love who you're around, but also I guess if there was like one word, it's I got a lot of words tatted on, but I have undeniable tatted on my
Mm.
left wrist because I think music is when you hear a beautiful song, regardless of genre, it does something to you. When you see a
Mm.
beautiful piece of artwork, when you see a sunset, when you see love, when you see a cool building or
Mm.
architecture, or it's nice outside, like there's certain things that are like, it doesn't really matter what our stance is religiously or politically or how we were raised. It's just kind of, this is cool, this is beautiful, this is serene, this is undeniable. So
Mm.
I think that's definitely a word that I reference now when I'm working on every aspect of my
Mm.
human. I think not just my art, but when I'm working on an album, I'm like, you might not like this, but the bass is really good.
Mm.
or when I'm working on a flyer, I'm like, this is a great photo. This is an undeniable photo. You might not even want to come to the show, but like, it's pretty, right? or like, just yeah, there's just
It's
certain
like base connection, right? It's like you
yeah,
can't deny that these
yeah,
things are good, and
correct.
like
There's just
let's
kind of
put
like
more
a
value in that
mhm,
almost. And actually that was the part two of my question was these young artists or like people that you're working
yeah,
with, like in this because you're still here, you're in Des Moines. I'm
yep,
I'm so grateful for that because I see people leave
yeah.
for one reason or another. So like, does that tear you up a little bit? Are you tempted to leave, or
Mm,
do you feel rooted?
I feel very rooted here. I feel like I have a purpose and hopefully serving my purpose here. I think there was something that I think 2020 and the marches and us kind of being a part of a large part of those, it and just the process of starting the nonprofit,
Mm.
learning the intricacies of all of that, then just really opened my eyes that like it's all fake.
Mm.
It's all bullshit. And so I had the opportunity and the privilege to meet a lot of movers, shakers, political figures in 2020 or post 2020, right? And it's
Mm.
like, hey, we want to talk to Billy, or like, let's get B.Well's
Right.
opinion on this.
You
And
became like
so,
the poster child of like, ooh, we'll talk to
yeah, we'll get his
yeah.
perspective. And if we talk to him, then we get the stamp of approval or we check that box. And so it
Mm.
was like, being toted around like that, I'm very like aware of not trying to be puppeteered as this black man that can just give you validation.
Yeah.
But also, I just felt like it it was like Wizard of Oz, and I got to see behind the screen, and I was like, oh, all this is bullshit. And
Like, oh, it's an old white guy back there.
yeah, moving strings, and then it's like
Classic.
I think I always knew that, but the aspect of like, oh, like, you know, I won't name anybody like specifically because it's just not necessary, but it's, you know, you're meeting people in their 50s, 60s, 70s that are still holding grudges and doing high school activities in regards to how they're gatekeeping or keeping people out or withholding information or not working with so-and-so because they did something to you 20 years ago. And it's like, this is weird as shit. And it's like, why are we doing this? And it's all just kind of like selfishly driven. And yeah, I feel like I think I have like many purposes, or I hope that I serve many purposes while I'm here on this planet. But one in Des Moines specifically was to be like, you don't need anything from outside sources. I could care less what the governor or the mayor or the president of the United States is doing. It doesn't affect how I'm treating a stranger or a human or my neighbor or the coffee barista or, you know, the kids in the school, right? It's like, those are all distractions to me. So my hand-to-hand or my like person-to-person connection is what I try to focus on the most. And I try to embody that first and foremost so that anybody that asks me or anybody that can see my aura or my light recognizes that, as opposed to me just posting on social media about who I want to be. It's like, no, I'm trying really hard to actually materialize this person that is not only intentional, but is extremely genuine. I think we all have agendas, right? My agenda is to create cool shit. It's not really, outside of that, it's not, I don't know. I think one of the reasons in 2020 why I was a little reserved to not even be a part, I always knew that it was like something that was going to be impactful. I didn't know that it would grow like it did, but I don't like to be performative. I don't like to like the rah-rah or the, you know, using your platform in a weird way.
Because then it feels politicized almost. Or like,
and it feels fake.
Yeah,
it's not real.
Yeah.
It's not genuine. And so navigating that has been interesting, to say the least, in Des Moines too.
Yeah.
It's just a big, small town.
Right.
It's just, So, but yeah, I say that all to say that I think you can make a lot more impact than you think you can by simple gestures, by simple movements, by simple collaborations, by just kind of putting yourself in a vulnerable state or just bypassing fear to just be like, I'm just going to reach out to this person that I've seen in the same spaces that I'm in or that I admire their work. And I'm just going to say something to them and see if they are cool or see if they have any interest.
Right.
This is how it was all built. It was just grassroots. It's been from the ground up, and it's just been off, hey, let's do something. You do this, I do this, let's do something cool together.
Yeah. God, I just so relate to everything you just said. It feels like very much in my lane. And, you know, you're a very genuine performer. You're a very genuine human. And I know that's something I love about you. But it's also just been great to get to meet you in person because we've know each other kind of peripherally. But you make freaking good tunes, too, at the end of the day, which is, you know, important. So I want to talk a little about, in the studio today, you're doing an old new track, right? You're working on something you've had in the hopper for years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Games. It's from a producer that lives in Toronto. And it was one of my first instrumentals that I found that I was like, this could be the B.Well sound or like a sound that I'm very like proud of and that I know is extremely unique. And has a lot of dynamics and layers to it. There's vocal like tracks from like an old movie that are that are in it as well. So, and it's also one that I love to perform at shows, or it's like a good intro track to kind of break the ice with folks and be like, hey, this is what you can expect, I guess. So like
set the stage.
Yeah. And so it's you know, it's been cool to hear it coming through these speakers. Or like,
I was gonna say, you've recorded a lot of different places, right? So like, how does the studio compare maybe to other places that you've been? These speakers in here are insane. It makes it hard to like leave and listen to the music normally. It's really annoying.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, right. I don't know all the pieces, but you know, Phil has been a saint to work with, and so has Ron, and like all the other And, you know, everybody that's like from a videographer to photographer standpoint has been dope. But yeah, sound quality wise, it's like they spared no expense, and you can definitely tell just in regards to how clean and crisp everything is, and just it's soundproofing in there, or just like there's no bleed, there's no like dynamics that are out of whack, or just
car sirens, like
you're not hearing anything,
whatever
and it also doesn't feel like you're in Des Moines, like not in a bad way to like shit on Des Moines, but it's just like it's the first of its kind here, so it's very cool to be able to, you know, even be in here. I just feel honored and humbled to be even in the capacity to get to come and do this. It's just it's kind of surreal sometimes still to be like, yeah, cool. People want to talk to me.
You've earned it, my man. No, you've totally earned it.
I appreciate
it. The quality that you put out. I mean, regardless of where you record, and your recordings from other studios and things like that still sound amazing.
Thanks.
Totally
that.
not knocking that. I know you work with Anthony, right? And like amazing sound engineer. The stuff you guys release is so cool. But yeah, that's what I love, that this is here for that same reason. I'm like, hey y'all, you don't need to go to Chicago.
Yeah,
you don't need to go to LA. Like, we have this here now. And it just, to me, kind of puts you 5 steps ahead of anywhere else because of the quality of the equipment and, you know, things like that, and the people here. And I know you put out a video. Is it already out? Because you recorded one here. No, it's not out.
No,
oh, oops.
It's
we can
okay.
edit it out
No.
if it's a
Build
surprise.
the tease in there. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm anxious to see that, because that's another bonus, is the video capabilities here and kind of tying that all together. So
the Infinity Room is dope.
Yeah,
it's very cool. It's for OCD, the second song off Money Well Made. So, that was the first video that we shot. Yeah, it's been in the reserves, or I guess the canon, for a while now. So I'm excited to release that. It'll be coming out this summer. So
the summer. Okay, I was gonna say, when did Money Well Made come out? Because that was this year. That was very
10th.
May. Okay, I was gonna say it was pretty recent.
Yep.
Again, it's incredible. I hope everybody goes and checks it out on Bandcamp, Spotify, all the places where they can find you. And please also check out B.Well Foundation.
Yeah.
You guys do incredible work. There's
Thank you.
amazing videos of like teachers talking about what an impact that the foundation's made, just getting very basic sounding supplies and types of books and things like that, you know, shouldn't be so difficult for them to get.
Nope.
It's kind of crazy. It's actually kind of cringe to watch, where you're like, oh, you were just gonna, you know, buy those out of your own pocket.
Yeah.
You know,
with money you don't have.
Yeah, with money you don't have, because teachers get paid so much. But just please, you know, go check out B.Well Foundation, what you do, contribute if you can, or just lend a hand if you can.
Straight up.
But definitely listen to his music. Any upcoming performances? Today's July 24th, but we will be putting this out in a couple weeks. So anything in the August, September, October timeframe?
Nothing on the calendars like for exact dates. I would just say anybody that's like interested in following, to follow like very close on IG. That's where, and you know, just Facebook in general, I guess, or social medias. We will be doing something like cool and big in the fall. I'll just say. There's not enough details to you know, like share.
You want to drop it?
Yeah.
Something's in the works.
Yeah, for sure. Brainstorming or so.
Oh, amazing. Okay. Well, I'm on call for you. I'm just kidding.
Straight up.
Billy, this was
That's
so
real.
much fun, for
Thanks
real.
for having
It was really great to talk to you. Thank you for the messages that you're spreading musically and otherwise. We are so lucky to have you in this community.
Lucky to be here. So
Thanks for
thank
being in the round with me, your host, D. D Talks.
Talks.
Do lovely?
D
Do you well? No, I hope so.
Cause this music is my life and this band is my vision. God made a plan and someone made the decision. Oh, now I'm tripping. Now they think I'm wildin'. Cause I win all once I started freestyling. You know I'm kinda childish. It's alright. I got on my ass when I first took flight. Now we living good and my unit so tight. And I've been directed to redefine stereotypes. Cause I'm the one your lady tryna plan on. The one from way back that they all fucking passed on. Never stall, smoke good, boy, the tree long. When they get better, not kill them with the last song. Here now, with something to fear. You're damn right, get it clear. I got too many gears. I believe in the cause and yet I need more. Slept on too long and they gon' feel the remorse. Because I'm out bad, never doubt that I've been cold since I used to fade route number 6. Count. Young brother out making an impact. Never quiet down, while I stay with that loud and feeling straight beastin'. Competing for the simple fact that ain't never off season. I'm greedy, never needy. Ain't no need for your false love, brother. Don't feed me shit, I'm good. So shit, I'm good.
In the Round is produced and recorded at Trilix Studio. Remember to subscribe to In the Round wherever podcasts are found.